2, 3, 4. Welcome to Off Panel, Sketch.com's weekly podcast. This week's guest is my buddy Brandon Burpee, the current record holder for most times guesting on a Sketch podcast. Thanks for coming on the show, Brandon.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm all about breaking records. I'm like the Steph Curry of this show.
Oh man,
maybe Iguodala. I just kind of show up in the playoffs.
You're a glue guy. Yeah. You're gonna get Finals MVP. I always make comparisons when I get really in a writing zone. I always say I'm like the Steph Curry of writing about comics right now. Mm-hmm. Either that, or I like to think you've seen Hackers, right?
Oh yeah.
I always like to, when like the main character is sitting there hacking, and then all of a sudden all these weird like mathematical equations just start going past his head. And, like I always imagine that, except for it says like comic books, Batman, industry, and things like that. And I'm like totally in the zone, crushing it.
Nice.
Anyways, so for this week's episode, Brandon is coming on the show to talk about DC's whole Rebirth deal. So they announced the general plan for everything a couple weeks back, and creative teams have not been announced, but they're coming out March 26th at WonderCon. So to start with, I wanted to just ask you kind of your general feeling about it, Brandon, because we both used to be much bigger DC fans, but we're kind of been iffy on them lately for the most part. What was your initial reaction to the news that we heard?
My first reaction was like, thank God, do something, like anything. They had to shake it up somehow, and I honestly was at a point where I didn't care how they did it. I think I only buy like 2 or 3 books from DC right now, which is incredibly low. Like I haven't bought that few books since probably right before Identity Crisis.
Wow.
So like that's a long stretch of not much. And I mean, and honestly, one of the books I buy, Deathstroke, is more just because it's so ridiculous. It's awesome. It's not going to win any crazy awards, but man, I love that book. Yeah, so I mean, they had to do something, and I like the idea that they're branding it with the Rebirth stuff and what Jeff Johns said about how he takes that title very seriously. So I'm hoping he actually means that, and that we get some decent shit, because if they really treat it that way, this could be a huge boon for the DC universe, because they could keep some of what they introduced in the New 52, which is good. Like people really love Batgirl, and incorporate it with the older stuff, like he did with like Green Lantern, where he didn't get rid of Kyle Rayner. He made him even more important, honestly, but while still bringing back the mythology. So if they do it right, this could be huge, in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I really hope, not to defame the Rebirth name, I hope it's a lot more Green Lantern Rebirth than it is Flash Rebirth.
For shizzle.
Because Flash Rebirth wasn't very good. I'm going to be totally honest. I mean, it was. I'm trying to remember. Did that lead into Flashpoint, or was that just like, never mind. That led into Barry Bean, the guy for a bit, didn't it?
Yeah, it led into the Flash series for a little while. And then yeah, Flashpoint came around. But I it was a totally different story. It was more in like character based, but I agree with you, it was not as good. And then also I was really, really pissed that they just kind of shit canned Wally West.
Yeah, I was not fond of that, as you know, big Wally West fan here. But yeah, I don't know. I like the fact that it's gonna be $2.99. I like the fact that they said that it's like, going to be much more legacy oriented, and they're going to be bringing back the universe and stuff, because I think you can have like the whole like DCU type stuff, and you can have the shared universe. I think you can do both. I don't see why you can't. And the only part I'm not totally certain on is the double shipping, just because, like, I don't know. I mean, I guess it really depends on how they do it. And I've heard some weird stuff as to how they might be they might be doing it. Mm-hmm. But if it's just straight double shipping where they're just like rotating artists all the time, I kind of just want good comics. I mean, I feel like that shouldn't be too much to ask. And I feel like double shipping sometimes can move away from that.
Yeah, because then it's less like when Marvel was double shipping in the early 2000s, where like Bendis was just pumping out Ultimate Spider-Man, and more like a Batman Eternal, where you're like rotating cast.
Exactly. So like you think about like the Trinity book, like you remember the 52, the weekly Trinity book?
Terrible.
Oh, so bad. And like, I'm trying to remember who they had Mark Bagley on that initially, but I think they ended up rotating artists because he couldn't hang or something like that.
He probably wanted off the book. He probably threatened suicide.
Anyway, yeah, and like, well, same with like Brightest Day. Like Brightest Day had like horrible, like at least with 52, they had like Keith Giffen doing the layouts every single issue.
Yeah.
So like there was some sort of visual consistency, but like with like, I think if you're going to have double shipping, it's still important to have some level of visual consistency, unless you're doing something super weird. And I don't know what they're going to be doing, but I don't know. I mean, like we kind of texted about this. I feel like for the first time in a while, I'm actually pretty excited about DC, and that's a huge change.
Yeah, I haven't been this excited for DC since the New 52.
Yeah.
When we were trying, like we were showing up and talk about it at the time, like we would show up and not know necessarily what book we were going to get. I'm kind of in that same boat right now.
Yeah. One thing I really like about it, too, is the fact that they're not launching all of them in the same month.
Yeah, it's so much smarter than New 52 was. So much smarter.
Although I will say it was pretty cool having like 13 new comics every single week. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to get? And then I get it. I'm like, I wish I had more time for this because this ends up being really expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. The only other thing I have a problem with, if they're doing it this way and they're going to stick with this, it probably gives less room to newer ideas in books.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the point, is they're just like, all right, this is where our money's at, so let's just double up, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do with stuff like, Prez or whatever, those type of books moving forward.
Well, that's the thing, though, is like they haven't announced it, but somebody asked the guy who wrote Prez.
I saw that.
Yeah. So like that's coming back in October. So I think that there probably are books that are coming back that they haven't announced.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I think it's a little too early to like, I don't know, like have a funeral for like Midnighter or like something like that. Yeah. I think books could be coming back that we don't know, and they could be doing new ideas. I think basically what they're just trying to do is like resuscitate their line right now.
It's a good call.
Yeah, I mean, it needs
that shit is flatlining.
Although I do think it's really funny. Like, we're going to get to this, and you look through their list, and it's like, you're like, okay, that makes sense. You're going to have, like, double shipping Batman. That makes sense. And you're like, double shipping Cyborg. What? And then you're like, Super Sons. What the hell? How is that a core book? Like,
yeah, that part I totally agree with. I was like, why are some of these double shipping? Like, is that an error?
Well, I mean, I think Cyborg makes sense to a certain degree because they are like, going to have Cyborg in the Justice League movie, and they're going to have. Did they announce a solo movie for him? I don't remember.
I think so.
I don't know. Let's just assume yes, because they've announced like movies for everybody.
Yeah, they're pushing him hard for sure right now.
But I mean, like Deathstroke's got a double shipping book, and I know you love.
And he should.
It should be. That should be a weekly.
Damn right.
But I mean, like, there's other. I'm trying to remember what the list was of the double shipping books, but it just seemed like if half the line is double shipping, I'm like, I don't know. It's kind of it's a little weird.
Yeah, I think they definitely have more coming though, because like that totally looks like Kid Flash in that one image, and Superboy and Jay Garrick, right? Is that who's in that picture? The Rebirth one.
Oh, I don't. I didn't actually look.
Text it over to you.
I've seen it before, but at the same time, I didn't look as closely as you did. I find it awesome that you did that though, because that is when I know you're hyped. Is when you start like analyzing things like that.
Yeah, well, I was excited that they were doing stuff like that because DC and Marvel were real good about that, like 2007, 2008 era. And then they just kind of stopped and then started spoiling everything. They went the exact opposite. They just started giving out shit to news media that was blowing it a week before instead of like surprising people.
Yeah, that's why it was nice when they did the Thunderbolts announcement that they were just
it was awesome.
I do think it was really hilarious. Like normally it's like, oh, this is gonna be a completely new team. I'm like, this is totally the exact same Thunderbolts as like the original ones. This is weird. And then all of a sudden, Bucky.
Oh man, that blew my mind. I was so jacked.
Yeah, so like I think I don't know. I wish we had more of that. Like there's a part of me that really gets like totally hooked on that. And I feel like if that's how they announce like Super Sons and it's how they announce like, I don't know, Green Lanterns and stuff like that, where they kind of slowly rolled out the teams, I'd be like, I'd be a little bit more interested in the books just because that type of thing piques my interest. It really looks like your classic Superboy, Jay Garrick, Green Arrow, Flash, a female Green Lantern, and Supergirl. That's basically what it looks like in that curtain to me.
Yep.
But
I'm interested.
Yeah, that Jay Garrick helmet's very odd. But anyways, it is like, I feel like it's gotten us pretty hyped in a way that it hadn't before. But I will be very interested to see like how the double shipping works and whether or not some of like the Supermans and I was even kind of surprised they did Batman Beyond.
Yeah, I mean, I am and I'm not, just because like I feel like they have to stick with it at this point. I mean, they invested so much into that series coming out of like what was that? Not so great.
Oh, Future's End.
Future's End, yeah. Like, and
I read every single issue of that, and I was actually flipping through my comics the other day trying to find some back issues of something else, and I was like, man, that was not very good.
Yeah, I read it too, but
as you know, I'm a total sucker for the weeklies, and it had such a good such an interesting first issue that I was like, I had to do that. But yeah, I totally understand. Like they totally propped up Batman Beyond. I'm just gonna be interested to see how they play some of this stuff out, because it's like, are they just gonna smash these characters back together? Are they gonna do like, how are they gonna do some of the, I don't know. I don't want to, kind of continuity stuff. Like, is it just gonna be like a restart, or I don't know. It's gonna be really interesting.
I'm hoping they do what I said they should have done coming into New 52 and utilize the whole multiverse. So certain books don't have to be on like Earth 52 or whatever. Like, you could have the line spread out, I think, and some of that reflects in how I did my my stuff. But I think they should spread it out, and then everybody gets their way. Mm-hmm. And when you bring on a new creator, when they're on Superman, it's like, hey, I want to fuck around with Superman from Earth 3. Okay, well, that's the Superman that now is leading Superman. Mm-hmm. And you could rotate around, especially with the bi-weekly. You could alternate, showing different, versions of characters. I think there's a lot they could play with if they actually utilize their really awesome, unique universe instead of shit canning it entirely. I have a D version.
I have to say that your theory or your idea makes a lot more sense, given the fact that, like, let's see, we got Superman, we got Action Comics, we got the Superman, we have Super Sons, we have Supergirl, we have Superwoman. I'm like, that is a lot of supers for
one. And double shipping, too. And it's like, holy shit.
Yeah, that's a lot of supers for one planet. Like, that's going to be a really, I don't know. I feel like if that planet, if all of those exist in one Earth, that would be like, they would be the worst superheroes ever if crime still existed and there's like 7 super people.
Seriously, it's time to hang it up, guys. You're not very good.
Exactly. Although I could totally get behind if the Superman is just this horrifically inept, like, Superman who's just like, kind of like, I don't know, you probably never read Major Bummer, the John Arcudi and like, Doug Mankey book, but basically it's like this dude who gets superpowers where he's got like hyper intelligence and he's like super strong and he can't be hurt and everything like that, and all he does is basically uses his powers to get free cable and sit on his ass all the time. And so he was just like a horrible superpowered person. I was like, this is awesome. So I could kind of get behind that if it was just like a little ridiculous, but otherwise I'm just like, whatever, that's too many Supermen, unless it's your idea.
Yeah, I just want to see, because they have an opportunity to like cater all kinds of audiences and actually utilize that instead of having people like, that's not my Superman. Okay, well, it's not, but he's over in Super Sons.
So, sorry, go ahead.
I'll just say you could totally utilize that to play to what people want. You could totally cater to the audience.
So are you kind of suggesting theoretically that like your, like, let's say it's double shipping, okay? And like what the idea would be, like, each arc would be one writer and one artist, and then like the next arc would be a entirely different character, like a different version of Superman in theory with a different creative team?
Well, I think you could play to the strengths of who you have. And so like one book could be like that, where they alternate arcs or, just basically churn out trade paperbacks. So it works for them and it works for like making it almost like not an anthology, but kind of like a old school Marvel Unlimited, where you just got stories that wrap up and move on. Or if you have a team who can keep up with the pace, you could continue on as long as that creator wants to continue to tell that Superman story, for example. And then when the next guy comes in, if he wants to continue that, great. If not, all right, cool, we'll move on to another one.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see how it plays out. Right now I'm really excited, but it could be damn near anything. Like, I have no idea what this could be. And like, I'm excited by that, because there's like, I don't know, like, I think some people were really annoyed by how uncertain everything was. Like, they just had titles, they didn't have creative teams, they didn't have like concepts and stuff. But I'm like, right now it could be anything. Like, right. It could be something terrible, but it also could be like 10 things that could be cool. So I don't know. I'm going to be interested to find out. It could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Okay, so the main event for what we're going to be doing here is, if you've listened to one of Brandon and I's podcasts before, we have a tendency of doing drafts where we basically like figure out the universe for ourselves. So as we've done before, we're going to be putting on our publisher's caps, and we're going to run DC Comics for at least today. Well, actually, if you guys want to hire us, we will continue to run it DC Comics. We are totally fine with that. So Brandon and I split up all 32 announced books for Rebirth, and because there aren't creative teams yet, we will be the ones deciding the creative teams. We're going to alternate picks in a draft form to define the universe's creative teams, but there are a few ground rules. No writer can be picked more than twice. No artist can be picked more than once. We're basically ignoring the double shipping thing and just picking one creative team. We also have to decide who the star of the book is, but we can't expand on that if we want to. And we have to be sort of realistic. And in that sense, I just mean basically you can't pick Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples because Saga is crushing it. So that's it. But so before we get started, I just have to bring up how tough was this for you?
There were varying degrees of toughness. Some of them came to me instantly. Oddly enough, some of my more really random titles came to me really quickly because I've got some real oddball things that I've done with some of these more mainstream books. But then there were some that were like really, really difficult, like super difficult. So it was like hit or miss. Like either it was really difficult or it was really easy. There was no in between.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had the exact same situation because I feel like the more ridiculous a book was, it was way easier for me because it's almost like I cared less well, it's not that I cared less. I still put the same amount of like interest and effort into it, so to speak. Mm-hmm. But I was just like, fuck it, this is going to be weird. I'm going to do what I want. So I did that. And I was like, I actually kind of love that. That's awesome. Right. As opposed to some books like Green Arrow where I was like, oh my God, kill me. This is impossible. Anyways, but Brandon, do you want to kick it off? So what my idea is let's go back and forth one by one as opposed to snake drafting it.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
So you want to kick it off with your first pick?
Sure. I will start with one of my more odd creative team choices.
Wait, really quick. Also, I just want to warn you guys that there's a fairly decent chance that I might cry during this podcast because if Brandon picks one of my people, I'm going to be upset. All right, go.
Yeah, that's got equal chance happening on both sides. It also could like totally dovetail into just chaos as we try to figure stuff out.
It will. It definitely will.
Let's see. So my first one, I'm going to start with Aquaman.
Okay.
My team on that book, I wanted to do something a little more different. I want to focus on Aquaman underwater, living in the Ocean Kingdom, and just kind of make it more like crazy ocean offbeat. So my team on that is actually Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely.
Oh, all right.
I thought that would be such a weird, different direction for Aquaman. And I think it would get people to come to the book. And I would use this not from like an Earth we're used to. I would actually make him more like the new Jason Momoa guy, not quite as like tatted up and shit, but a little more like barbarian king type Conan thing.
So instead of him coming out of the sea and just like being like, I'm Aquaman, except for I'm constantly fighting on land, your one would actually be like Atlantis King Aquaman.
Yeah, if he left the water, it would be like a holy shit moment because you don't leave the ocean. I mean, he's got so much ocean, he doesn't have time to be dealing with fucking Earth. No, I was gonna say, yeah, you're right. Yeah, no, what you're saying is like 2/3 of the Earth or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like, so like it's not like he's not gonna be busy.
Yeah, so if he had to leave, then cool. But I'm pretty sure those two on that book could stretch out underwater battles forever.
I feel like that would be pretty amazing because Grant Morrison would get super weird on that.
Super weird. It'd be so ridiculous. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, I totally love that. So would it? We're also like to define this star. Is it going to be? Would that be tatted or not tatted up, but barbaric warrior Arthur Curry?
Yeah, it'd be Arthur Curry. He would just be like a lot more warrior-esque and not leaving the water.
Okay, I totally dig it. I'm all in for that. All right, so. My first pick, I probably shouldn't go with this one first, but whatever, I'm going to do it, is Action Comics. Because that's like the first DC book. Like, that's the thing. Anyways, so my pick for that would be, I wanted them so badly to be part of the DC Rebirth Superman business, but they recently got announced for the Future Quest book. But I say, sorry, guys, you guys are getting moved off Future Quest. The writer would be Jeff Parker, and the artist would be Doc Shaner with Jordi Belair coloring. So that team did the Convergence Shazam thing, which was great, and it was like perfect for them. And the only part I didn't like was the fact that it was in Convergence, and I didn't really care about Convergence, but the parts where it was just like Billy Batson and like Shazam or Captain Marvel and everything, it was pretty awesome. And I just feel like they'd be perfect for that. Like for Superman, because I have both Superman books, I want the Superman books to be like Superman level threats, but besides that, like lots of good natured stuff, lots of like Daily Planet. I want him to save some damn cats. I want him to do some ordinary stuff. I want him to be Superman rather than like, I don't know, like Darkness Man. I want him to be a beacon of light. And so yes, my Action Comic star will be shockingly Superman.
My mind is blown.
I know, it's crazy. So that's my book. All right.
Nice.
What do you got?
Let's see. Where do I want to go next? We'll go with one of my crazier ones. So Green Lanterns #1. I went totally left field with that book, and instead of it being like an awesome like action-packed space battle book like Green Lantern's been for a while, I would actually make it like a buddy cop book with Badge, Kilowog, and Guy Gardner.
Oh my God, I love it.
And it would be written by Ryan Brown of God Hates Astronauts, and it would be drawn by Nick Pitara. That book would be insane.
Oh my God, that is amazing. I love it.
And most of it would be like less, again, action as much as like the offbeat nature of being a policeman. They'd be like in a bar for a whole issue, just like getting into it with people and just being Guy Gardner with a fucking chipmunk.
Oh my God, that is amazing. Wait, is that who's Badge? I don't know who that one is.
Badge is like the little squirrel Green Lantern thing. It's spelled B''DG.
Oh. I'm totally in on that book. That is amazing.
Yeah, it'd be crazy.
It actually. Did you read the comic Buddy Cops?
I think I read the first issue.
Well, they only had like the print one was only like one issue. They did it like.
Yeah, I think we reviewed that.
Yeah, we did. I love that. I love that book. Anyways,
yeah.
that kind of reminds me of what you're kind of going for, except for it has a squirrel Green Lantern in it, which is a huge change. Huge change. I love that. I would buy the living hell out of that book. That is amazing. Also, it's so far 2 for 2. No creative team stolen. Yes. Okay, so because you went weird, I'm gonna go weird. My next book is Super Sons. As I told Brandon beforehand, I looked up what Super Sons was originally, and I thought that was stupid. So I'm not gonna do Super Sons.
That was dumb.
So I'm gonna make Super Sons. I'm gonna do Super Sons, but this time I'm gonna do it right. So what this would be is it's a book that is like the people of Metropolis are like inspired by Superman, and like it turns out like the real world of Metropolis is super weird. There's like all this goofy crap that's happening all over the place, and so there's like a collection of like off the beaten path superheroes. They're like kind of street level heroes in Metropolis that confront that weirdness of Metropolis. Like the Superman with a lion head from back in like the 1950s is going to be in it. And I never even heard about that until I had Joe Keating on my podcast a little while ago. And because he came up with that and because he was so into like the weirdness of Metropolis, Joe Keating will write it. And the artist will be Jake Wyatt, who did like a Ms. Marvel thing and then also did is doing this web series called Necropolis, and his art is awesome. And it's just gonna be like, it's gonna be a more odd book, but it's going to be like, I don't know, they're called the Super Sons because they're like, they've embraced like the Superman lineage and they want to be like the, like, I don't know, they want to live that path. So it's a bit of a reach, but I don't care. It's my book and it's gonna be super weird, and Superman with the lion head is gonna crush it, and I love it. Bang.
Nice. I like it. Let's see. So none of my guys got stolen that one either, so I'm excited about that. We'll keep the trend going here.
This is amazing.
Yeah. I'm going to go with my next one here. I don't know that you'll steal either one of these, so it might not be the best pick to use, but I don't care. I'm going to go with Wonder Woman on the next one here.
Okay.
I want this book obviously to go, well, not obviously, I guess. I would like it to go back to Wonder Woman pre-Flashpoint.
Okay.
That character, that version. But I want it to be more focused on like her kind of almost like the Rucka run where she was more of an ambassador to the world, but also bring in some of the warrior elements and just like, I think that book missed back then because it wasn't as female driven in some of these instances, like making characters for, you know, women. Like now that I have a daughter, I would like her to have a Wonder Woman book that's not Wonder Woman's titties flopping everywhere. Like I tried. She wanted to get a Wonder Woman book recently, in the Finch book. I'm like, sorry, baby. There's no fucking way.
Yeah.
Like I will not let you look through this. So with that in mind, I thought I still like Wonder Woman to look good. She's Wonder Woman. She look awesome. So I'm gonna throw Emanuela Lupacchino on that book.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And then just to make sure that people aren't thinking I'm just trying to do hot ass cheesecake Wonder Woman, I want to put some intelligence behind it and also appease the masses and put an awesome female writer on there. So I'm putting G. Willow Winslow on there.
Well, G. Willow Wilson.
Wilson. Sorry, I don't know why I said Winslow.
I don't know. All I know is that book sounds amazing.
And just let them run wild with it. I think that would be a cool team. You can get all woman power behind it. It's a book I'm pretty sure I could give to my daughter. It's probably a book I would enjoy. So I want to see that book.
Yeah, I like the idea that you're trying to find a book that your daughter could read, because that is a huge bummer about it. Because even the Azzarello and Chang stuff that everybody really loves, and it is a good book and everything, but like there's probably like, I'm not saying it has to be like all ages or something like that, but I don't know if a young woman who is interested in Wonder Woman would necessarily be grasping onto that. And I don't know. I guess I can't really speak to that because I'm not a young woman. But at the same time, I do like the idea that you're kind of embracing that. And Emanuela Lupacchino is such a great artist.
So awesome.
I almost had her on like 3 different books, and I ended up not going with her. So I'm super glad that I didn't, because now I avoided it getting stolen. All right. So my next book is Nightwing. And so this is definitely the most like super powered creative team I have, because I feel like Nightwing, I didn't read Grayson. I'm going to be totally honest. I know people really love that, but Dick Grayson to me is Nightwing. Like, I love Nightwing. He's such a great character, and I love him being a hero and like being in, like, I'm not saying he has to be in Bloodhaven, but his whole run with Chuck Dixon and Scott McDaniel and everything was like one of my favorite like DC comics ever. And I kind of want to get back to him being like his own man, where he's doing stuff and he's like a big beacon of light for DC. Like, I don't know. Do you remember back when, was it Infinite Crisis, where he was kind of stepping up and he was being a bigger part of like that was like, I felt like he was on the verge of something, and then he just kind of wasn't. I mean, he ended up being Batman, but that wasn't him. Like,
because he always said he didn't want to be Batman. He was his own man. They flew in the face of that. Exactly.
So I'm gonna go big. So we're gonna go big on Nightwing being his own hero, and the writer would be Jeff Johns, because it's a character he's never written. And,
nice.
And I really feel like for Rebirth to work, they really need Jeff Johns to be a bigger part of it, because I feel like nobody gets DC better than Jeff Johns does. Anyways, and then the artist would be Paulo Rivera, the guy who did the Valiant and the Daredevil run, part of the Daredevil run with Mark Waid. And I just feel like he's got a great feel for like that type of hero and body type, the more gymnast, like sleek body type. And he's such a great storyteller, and I feel like they could do some incredible things with that character. And it would be a team that is worth the time of like the greatness of the character.
I like it. I think it's a great idea. And believe it or not, Johns was not on my list.
What?
So luckily I dodged one there. But yeah, no, I'd buy the hell of that book, because I agree with you. I think that's a character that needs like a big team to show that he's a big time player, and that would definitely do it.
Well, and they've always wanted to play up that character, but they've never really committed to it, besides the time where he was Batman.
Right.
And like, I don't know. I mean, I just think it's kind of interesting, because it's clear that people really like Dick Grayson. And like, I just feel like he deserves a team that is worth what people think he is,
Yeah.
Anyways, what's your next pick?
My next one I'll go with. I'm just kind of working my way down my list. So next one up I've got is Detective Comics, number 934. No surprise here. I'm throwing Snyder on that book.
What?
I think that he, for me, is one of the best Batman writers I have seen in my lifetime, and I would love to see him be the guy that brings it to 1,000. So I would 100% put Snyder on there and let him go to town. I would let him do any type of Batman he wants. So I don't really have a particular one. I would prefer it to go back to kind of when he was on Detective Comics prior to this, kind of with like the jock art style, but I'm going to throw Jay Lee in there with him instead.
Ooh.
And I would just want to see, like, I think like the Capullo stuff's been awesome, but his look is almost more like fantastical and cartoony to a degree. And I would like to see just more of like a darker, like detective style, like we got initially when Snyder was on that book with Jock, more that style. But I'd let him do whatever the fuck he wanted, honestly.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Jay Lee or Jai Lee or whatever is a
Ramadan
is a great tonal fit for Snyder's writing. So I assume that's John Paul Valley as the star.
Yes.
You said he can do whatever he wants.
Oh my God. No, I'm not even shitting around. I would buy that book. If they did that book and they had like the Nightfall armor too. Oh my God. I would buy that weekly.
Just so you could have like that weirdness in your life.
I never even thought of that, man. I'd be on board for that.
That would be I think I'm not watching Gotham anymore, but I'm pretty sure Azrael's going to be a character in that.
He is.
And I doubt it's John Paul Valley, and I certainly don't think he's going to have like Batman armor. But it would be
flaming sword.
I would watch that. I would read that. Yeah. I would do anything just because like Azrael was like my type of crazy for comic books in the 90s. It's so stupid, but I love it. Anyways. Yep. Realistically, Bruce Wayne, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably.
All right. Well, you did detective. I'm going to do Batman. I have Batman, and mine would be. See, while you can do any type of Batman comic you want, my favorite Batman stories really are the detective stories. And I know that's kind of going contrary because you're doing detective comics and I'm doing Batman. Batman's always been more of the traditional superhero book, but I like it more when there's like a little bit of like the darkness to it and like the shadows and everything of the Gotham, because Gotham is such a dark place. It's the darkness to Metropolis's light. And so I'm going to embrace the Tom King rumor, and I'm going to have Tom King as the writer of the book, because I think that guy can do anything. And I'm really excited to see like him trying to bring some like, I don't know. I mean, I just think his style will fit very well for the character. And because I'm embracing the darkness and the detective side, I'm going to use a recent Detective Comics artist, Jean Paul Leon, as the artist. And I just think that they'd be a great pair, because I feel like Jean Paul Leon is in kind of like the school of Gabriel Hernandez Walta. And except for he's like a bit deeper on his inks and everything like that. And I just think he'd be such a perfect fit for Gotham. So, and it would be Bruce Wayne. That would be my story. Yes.
That'd be cool. I would like that.
No steals?
Well, the writer you can use twice, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, no steals yet.
We're safe.
Yep.
All right.
I did go back and forth on him and Jock though, instead of Jai Lee, and then I ended up going Jai Lee. So I agree with you entirely. He's
you mean Jean Paul Leon?
Yeah, dude, his art is awesome. He'd be sick as fuck with Tom King on Batman.
Yeah.
Okay, so we might as well stick it in the Bat family, stick with Tom King, and stick with it being a dark vibe. Next up, I have Batgirl.
Dark vibe for Batgirl.
Yeah, so, and this again plays into, you don't necessarily have to get rid of anything that's already existed. Batgirl of Burnside can continue to do her thing somewhere in the multiverse or in another book, but I would like to go back to Cassandra Cain.
Ooh, yeah.
And I would like to see Tom King and Andrea Sorrentino on that book.
Ooh, that's nasty.
Just doing like back to her not talking, and just kicking ass. And the way like Sorrentino's art is, like with impacts, you could have the colors and stuff like that. Like, oh man, it would be sick, because he was awesome on Green Arrow, and I like him a lot on Old Man Logan. So I would keep that same visual style and bring it over to Batgirl with Tom King. And like you said, I think Tom King could do anything right now. That dude is on fire.
Yeah.
And so I would love to see him, take the action and kind of darken it up a bit from Grayson and throw it down with Batgirl and Cassandra Cain. It would be sick as fuck. I dig it.
That is a great pick. And you had me with Cassandra Cain. I love Cassandra Cain.
I do too. She was so awesome. And her costume was so sick.
It's funny, like the whole like not talking thing. I knew it would never work for forever. But at the same time, like, it was so unique having this character that just basically didn't talk, and it made her so much more badass.
Yeah, she seemed more scary. Like, she just beats people up. She didn't even talk.
It was kind of like, did you ever see the movie Danny the Dog? Okay, well, it starred Jet Li, and it was about like this guy who was basically raised as like he was taken from his family when he was young and like trained to basically be muscle for like gangsters, and he would wear this like leash around his neck, and as soon as he was unleashed, he was basically supposed to kill everyone in a room.
Nice. I think I remember the trailer for that.
Yeah. Anyways, and like the movie wasn't great. There was like a director's cut that was supposedly better, but. It was kind of like Cassandra Cain. Like, the guy basically didn't know how to talk, and like he would just get unleashed and like kill everything. And then finally he started discovering the world when Morgan Freeman, who played a blind guy, like he like moved in with Morgan Freeman, yada, yada, yada. Anyways, so it was kind of like a Cassandra Cain story, but it was, I don't know. I just love that character and I think it'd be a great fit. But all right. So my book I'm going to go with is I feel like Suicide Squad could be awesome. It really depends on who's doing the book, though, obviously.
Yeah.
And I almost went with Jim Lee because there's the rumor that Jim Lee is going to be one of the rotating artists on that book. But I like as great as Jim Lee can be, I just don't really feel like he's a fit for the darkness you need for that book. And although, going after discussing the last couple of Bat books, I kind of feel like we're going on a darkness trend, but it doesn't have to all be dark. Just Suicide Squad, I mean, it's in the name. It kind of got to be dark. But so for that, my writer would be Jason Latour, who is mostly known as the artist for Southern Bastards, but he also wrote an issue of Southern Bastards and he was great. And he also, does Spider-Gwen and has done a bunch of other stuff in his career. And I think he's got a great sensibility for it. And I feel like he could bring a lot of like depth to the characters. So they're not just like machismo freaks, they're like actual characters. And the artist I would have for it is James Herron, because I think that guy does action better than pretty much anybody. And I feel like him like going in and taking like the action to like 11 would be pretty much amazing. And the Suicide Squad team would be pretty much the one that we see in the movie, except for, I don't know, they wouldn't have like weird facial hair and stuff like that. They would be like more like the classic characters, except for they would still be pretty nuts. So yeah, that would be my Suicide Squad team.
Nice. I like it. Because Heron does Rumble, right?
Yeah, he does Rumble.
Yeah, I like that book.
Yeah, and he also did some BPRD stuff, and he did a Conan book for a little bit, and he hasn't done any like Marvel DC stuff, I don't think. And I'm not wishing that he would go away from Rumble, but at the same time, I think he'd be a great fit for that.
Yeah, for sure. I'd buy it. That sounds cool. Okay, so my next book, I'm trying to think strategically now. Because you scared me with a couple of those picks. I'm like,
you really got to look at Artist. Artist is the one that's the most at risk.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, just to play it safe here. My next one is going to be Justice League of America, or I guess it's just Justice League of America now. They got rid of the of. So my team on that...
I'm nervous. I'm nervous.
You should be. I don't know. Honestly, you may not even have this person, but just in case. For writing that book, so Justice League America would be like just your core 7, just straightforward Justice League, very commercial based.
The old Grant Morrison team, basically.
Yeah, pretty close.
Except for no Electric Superman, or maybe Electric Superman. I don't know.
And it'd be a lot of like the scale back version, so like Hal Jordan instead of Kyle, things like that. It's probably Cyborg in there, but I would also have Martian Manhunter, who's getting fucking downplayed. But anyway, so I would do it up that way, but I would also make it kind of, while it's mainstream and its appeal of character, it would have more long-running plot lines and stories that build up, kind of like John's is doing right now in Justice League, but more of less of a blockbuster feel to it. Mm-hmm. So my writer would be Rick Remender. Mm-hmm. And my artist would be Stuart Immonen.
Oh, thank God.
And I would just let them go to town. I mean, I think it'd be interesting to see Remender's darker stories with Immonen's art, but I kind of would like to see how they could play that up, because Immonen, I think, has a really good like commercial appeal to him, and it'd be interesting to see like Remender doing his style with that commercial appeal.
So that was Justice League America, not Justice League.
Right. That's Justice League America. That's like, fuck yeah, America book. Justice League is going to be a whole nother animal.
All right. I'm totally into it. I mean, I like one thing that is, as much as I like the big teams, like I feel like Justice League is the best when it's kind of like, I don't know. Like I like looking at them as like the super all-star team. Okay. Like maybe Justice League is the book where it's like the all-star team, but like the Justice League book should be like the all NBA team, mm-hmm. where it's like the best of the best. And I like it when it stays at that core 7 or whatever, or I guess 8 it would have to be if you added if you added Cyborg on top of Martian Manhunter.
Yeah, more Dream Team 92 than 98, 2000, whatever that was in that time.
Yeah, exactly. That is a much better analogy. That's perfect. It's like you got the best players ever, as opposed to like, I don't know. I don't even remember who was on those teams, but those teams were horrible.
that team really never existed. They just told us it did, and we didn't care, and they just didn't even go.
I think it's funny that they just kept applying Dream Team to teams. I'm like, I don't know if that counts anymore.
Yeah, your marketing has failed, guys. Give it up.
All right, so my next book would be, and I have to get this out because I don't know if you would pick him. Oh my God, Sharif Abdur-Rahim was on the 2000 team, and Antonio McDyess.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
God, they couldn't even, and probably Fat Vin Baker was on it. I'm pretty sure that was Fat Vin Baker too.
Probably.
All right, so I just in case you're gonna pick him, I have to get this out of the way. So I'm gonna do Trinity, which I thought was gonna be one of the hardest books, but was actually maybe the easiest. And for the Trinity, like the thing about the Trinity of Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman is like, first off, I don't think this book should exist. So I hate those. Like I'm not a big fan of like the team up books unless there's like unless it's like one constant and you have random people. Like I always like Spider-Man team up because you would have like random people that would come in and it would be a change to flavor type of thing. Mm-hmm. But if it's just Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, it's like basically like a Justice League story all the time, more or less. But because I have to do it, I'm going to make it as good as I possibly can. And the thing I like about the Trinity is it's supposed to be, again, like the most hopeful part of the DC universe. It's supposed to be like the aspirational trio. It's why I think it was in Infinite Crisis when they had like the whole showdown in the Watchtower and about how like they were all pissed at each other because like Wonder Woman killed somebody and Batman made Brother Eye and Superman. I don't know what Superman did. He probably did something milquetoasty. But anyways, but this is gonna be about them being good and about them being aspirational leaders and about like them taking on big threats whenever like, I don't know, like they need the three of them to do it. And writer and artist would be the same person. It would be Chris Samnee.
Nice.
And I just think that he's got such a great feel for like the kind of classic, kind of like the Darwin Cook New Frontier type style. I'm not saying he's exactly like that, but I feel like he's kind of got a good, God, this is going to sound insulting, like old-timey nostalgic vibe to him that I think would be a good fit for the book.
I feel like he would embrace that.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to put him into a box, but Chris Samnee do exactly what I told you.
Yeah, don't change.
Don't change at all. No darkness, Chris Samnee. Get it out of your diet.
Oh, man. Luckily, I dodged a bullet on that one. I almost took him as my Harley Quinn artist just to go really random, and then I was like, nah. But
I am genuinely shocked that we're through like 6 books and we have not overlapped at all.
And we're getting to a point where besides Tom King, we're getting to a point though with my list where I think we might not.
I kind of think so because I was trying to go outside the box and I think
I was too.
We've done it. Mm-hmm. All right, what's your next book?
All right, next one. I'm trying to look and see who you might possibly take. I don't think there is anybody. So what do I want to go with next?
All of the rest are going to be overlaps.
That would be hilarious. I'm going to go with one of my more ridiculous ones. Ridiculous as in, like, nobody else would buy this book, probably.
I like that you're openly admitting that no one else would buy this comic that you've created.
Yeah, this would be one of those ones that would be on the chopping block, potentially. Like, I think people would be like, oh, that's great on half of it, but the other half, what? So my next book would be Red Hood and the Outlaws.
Well, that's a good start.
Yep. So this one stars a character who I really enjoy, Red Hood. The Outlaws, to be honest, I have no clue who they would be. They'd be whoever hung out with him. It could be a rotating cast. I really don't know. The Outlaws part is inconsequential to me. Slowly, this would become just Red Hood.
So each issue, there'd be one less word to the title until it becomes Red Hood.
Yeah, he would just start out with a group of people, and they'd all just be like Star Trek red shirters, and they would die. And then, like after the 5th issue, there'd be no more Outlaws. So the 6th book would be just Red Hood.
I love it.
The artist would be Leinil Yu.
Oh yeah.
I would like to see.
That's
Red
a great
Hood
fit.
Shooting stuff. And then and that's where I think 50% would be okay. The writer, I think people would be like, really? But I like him. He's handled the character before, and I thought he handled him well. He actually is the person that reintroduced him, and that's Judd Winnick.
Oh, yeah. I like Judd Winnick.
He's just kind of disappeared. I don't know where he went.
He did a comic where he both wrote and illustrated it last year that was for kids. It was called Wait, hold on. I have it right behind me. Hilo, the Boy Who Crashed to Earth, and it was good. I mean, it was he did this Barry Ween book back in the day for Oni Press that was awesome, and it was like the most immature book that's ever existed, and I love it. It's also like it has some great like emotional moments too, but it's mostly just like this boy genius kid who's just like making dick jokes all the time, and it's great. But I mean, Judd Winnick, I think. Like Judd Winnick when he's on is like amazing, and I think sometimes he gets put in weird situations. Wasn't he the guy who did Exiles?
He did Exiles. He did a lot of the Kyle Rayner Green Lantern. He did a Batman run for a while where he reintroduced Red Hood. Yeah, I mean he's been around and done some things.
I'm not trying to totally lift the idea of Exiles, but it'd be kind of funny if Red Hood somehow became the guy who was like shifting between all of these Earths that you've created, and it was just like the one who's just like going in on like as like the tourist of varying dimensions. I think that'd be kind of fun.
That would be fun.
Anyways, all right, great pick. I like it. All right, so my next book I'm going to pick is this one is the most outlandish person because the writer does not even work in comics, and I've just decided that he will now work in comics.
Nice.
So the book will be Blue Beetle, and because I'm a contrarian, you can guess who my Blue Beetle is.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be Jaime, right?
Jaime, or Jamie, or however you want to pronounce it. Reyes, my boy. My boy, I love him. He is my Blue Beetle. I know that Ted Kord can be in the book as like a mentor, or it could even be like a team-up thing. I don't care. But he is my guy. And I really, like, I kind of want to get back to like what it was when it was... God, I don't even remember who wrote it. Was it John Parker or something? And it was Raphael Albuquerque on art. That arc, the run that I really, really loved. So it's gonna be back with Jaime in high school, but also being a superhero and everything, and juggling that part of his life. The artist I would pick for it is Chris Visions, who does some pretty insane stuff. He's just got a ton of energy to his art, but he's also just a great storyteller. And then the writer would be the guy who wrote and directed a movie from last year called Dope. Did you see it?
Oh, yeah. I love that movie.
Yeah. Rick Famuyiwa. God, sure. I completely apologize about butchering your name if for some reason you're listening to this. But he is he had such a great voice for those characters. And I just feel like I don't know. I feel like he both understands young people, but also understands like what it means to be aspirational and wanting to do something big in the world. And like I feel like he's just like, I don't know, I really loved like his voice that he had for that movie. So that would be my creative team, and it would be, like I said, about Jaime finding his way as a superhero, but also juggling that with his family life and his high school life.
That sounds good to me. That'd be a good writer for it, honestly.
Yeah. And he's not too big yet, so he can still do something like this.
Right. And then he'll get really big and blow it off, but at least he'll get a good run. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Where to go next? All right. So I'm just going to get off one of my more, like, it's another book that would please me greatly. Some people may complain it's a little bit too much going back to status quo, but again... Don't care.
I have a total status quo book.
Okay, cool. Yeah, but for me, just don't care. I'll take it. I'll read it. So for Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps, I would relaunch that book and have it be the more straightforward Green Lantern book. My one alteration to this book, though, would be that the Green Lantern Corps, like right now, is in like some other dimension or wherever they've been. And so they're not currently in. They're starting to come back, but they haven't been in the main New 52 universe or whatever. And all kinds of shit's gone haywire for him. So I would make this book be about the Green Lantern Corps, like Green Lantern Corps was, in the 2000s era. And I would have them, though, be like the police of the multiverse now. So they would go between all this stuff, kind of like you were saying with the Red Hoods and the Exiles type deal, but less of like time hopping or like trying to fix things as much as they're just policing things. Mm-hmm. And I would have that be by Tomasi and Gleason.
Ooh, yeah. Well, you know what?
I love them.
I don't remember. I think I was talking to Walt about Patrick Gleason or about Peter Tomasi the other day, because like he's rumored to be doing the Superman books, and like I don't know, like I feel like he is a really great writer that's somehow gotten underrated over the years. Yeah. And like his Green Lantern Corps, like him and Gleason on Green Lantern Corps, I still like as awesome as the whole Sinestro Corps war was. I still look at the whole net situation that they had. Do you remember the net in Green Lantern Corps? That was like such a peak moment for that book.
The double page spread.
Where they all combined to make a net to like, I was so like, cool. I remember just reading that. I was like, oh snap, that's happening.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm totally all about that. I love that. I love that idea. Nice work.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so I'm going to go status quo. This is actually, I had Gotham Academy the next semester, and frankly, I kind of like. While I would like to see recently there was like a yearbook arc, and while I'd like to see other people take steps on it, I like the idea of just kind of going back to the same team because Brendan Fletcher clearly gets the characters really well. Note that I did not have Becky Cloonan on the book; she might be going elsewhere. And the artist would be Mingju Helen Chen, who has worked on the book several times, but I love her art, and I know Carl Kerschel's off the book for his own reasons, and I hope those reasons are that he's doing the abominable Charles Christopher again, which is a comic that I love.
Yeah.
Anyways, and so I'm totally down with her being on it, especially given the fact that she's like she works in animation, like she was like a concept, or she was a. God, what was her, like an artist for like Big Hero 6 and like other movies like that, like Wreck-It Ralph and everything. And so I love her style. I think she's a great fit for the book. And so I'm just going to keep status quo on that. It's boring, but whatever. It's my team.
Yeah, sometimes you just don't have to fix things. Sometimes they're just good.
Exactly, yeah. Like, I don't know. I was trying to think of like, who could I have that would be better? I'm like, I don't think I could have anyone that would be really better.
Right. At that point, it's like, why bother even having the book anymore, you know?
Yeah, I mean, like, Tomasi and Gleason, like, that's, like, peak Green Lantern Corps.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
Anyways, next.
All right, next up, we're starting getting close to my oddballs, so let's save some of those for last. So next we'll do Deathstroke.
Oh, yeah. I'm really excited to see who you put on. You're going to put on, like, the greatest creators ever because you love Deathstroke.
That I thought about going ridiculous with it, doing like Jeff Johns and somebody else huge, like a Kubert or something. Yeah. But I'm actually going to stick with the current artist, which is Tyler Kirkham. Yeah. I think his art style is perfect for what Deathstroke is, just kind of over-the-top action business. But I would like to see like a solid writer on him. So I'm actually bringing in Cullen Bunn.
Oh,
I liked what he did on Magneto. I actually enjoy what he's doing over in the X-Men universe, and which is amazing considering he's teamed up with Greg Land. But that book is still good. So that just speaks to Cullen Bunn, not Greg Land. So and and that book kind of continues on what he was doing with Magneto in the Magneto series with Gabriel Hernandez Walta. Who is amazing. But yeah, so nothing too crazy there. It would still be like balls to the wall action, but with some intelligent writing to go with it.
Yeah, because wasn't Magneto was more or less like him going around like killing fools, like getting vengeance and whatnot, right?
Yeah, it was more in line with like Magneto Nazi Hunter. Mm-hmm. Except for he was like hunting anti-mutant people. It was awesome, and some Nazis.
I not that I would actually think this would ever happen, but I kind of could have went for a movie of Michael Fassbender being Magneto Nazi Hunter.
I totally would have. I'd have seen it like 4 times.
Like those scenes in First Class were so badass.
Oh yeah, they were awesome. I was like, all right, that's Magneto right there.
Yeah, it was great. All right, so my next book is going to be The Hellblazer, and I had some issues with this at first, but then I was like, wait a second, I know who does like horror stories super well, but also has like great intelligence and also has worked in the DC universe. Becky Cloonan, who wrote and illustrated her own like horror stories that she released in a 3-volume, like it wasn't a 3-volume, but it was like 3 stories in one. She had like these mini comics that she created and then put into this book called By Chance of Providence. She does awesome like horror style stories. While I would like her to rotate in as artist, she's not gonna be the main artist on the book. The artist I would have is Mike Del Mundo. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know if you read Weird World, but he was, I mean, I guess he's still doing it, but like the art on the mini series was kind of like, it's just like absurdist, ridiculous, like magical stuff. And I feel like he'd be a great fit for like the Hellblazer universe, like, or not the universe, but like him doing all the magic stuff and smoking and being ridiculous and being moody while also being like atmospheric. I think Mike Del Mundo is awesome. So he would be my pick.
I like it. He was awesome on Weird World, but they took him off. Like, it's not even about what it was about. It's about some little girl now.
Oh, I don't know. I actually stopped reading that as soon as it got switched off of Jason Aaron writing.
Yeah, I did. Well, yeah, because they changed the whole premise. They kept the title and changed the whole premise of the book, and I was like, out, because it was awesome the way it was.
It was weird how like that book works so well, given the fact that I knew none of the characters.
I only knew a couple. Like, I knew the dude with Archon because he was in the X-Men cartoon, like, and he'd popped up here and there in X-Men stuff. But
I don't remember that.
Yeah, like he tried to wed Storm and bring her back to his planet to like stop the weather from like destroying them and stuff. Like, so like it was cool to see. I'm like, oh, this guy. Yeah, other than that, like, yeah, it was just such a weird off the wall book that I had no intention of checking out. I read it a couple times and then went back and got them all.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, but then they were like, oh, by the way, we're keeping that, but none of the stuff that goes with it. It was like, wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, it was like they thought the star of the book was just the weird world itself.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways.
Oh, well.
Next pick.
Next pick here. Let's see. Let's do... just on the off chance you take this person. Superwoman.
Okay.
I would actually keep the current Earth 2 Power Girl, Power Woman, who's now wearing an S, so I call her Superwoman. I would keep her because I think they've done a great job of developing that character. And I think she's a little less confusing than Power Girl pre-Flashpoint. I think you could still bring her back and use her in like a JSA book, that Power Girl, but you could still keep this Superwoman one. So I would keep her in that place. And as a writer, I would bring in Mark Waid. I would like to see what he could do on that book. I think he's actually doing a pretty good job over in All New, All Different Avengers. Mm-hmm. He obviously was good with like, Flash and different things like that. But I think it'd be interesting to see how he would handle that character. And the artist would be Amy Reeder.
Ooh, good pick. I like that.
I think that would be a fun combo. I think he would be a good writer to work with her because I think he could work toward her strengths. And really bring the best out of her, even though like on Rocket Girl, she's killing it. But I would like to see that same kind of style on a Superwoman book. I think it'd be awesome. And it'd be a book I could probably give to my daughter.
So would it be Power Girl, the Superwoman?
Yeah. So the current Superwoman, basically in that Earth 2 book, started out as Power Girl and then eventually covered up the boob hole with the Superman shield that she got off Superman. And
that is a natural fit. It is perfect.
Yeah, seriously. And now her and Obama Superman are like a thing.
Wait, you mean like the one from Multiversity?
Kind of, but not. They basically kept that style. It's like Black Superman.
I love your descriptions of boob hole and Obama Superman.
Yeah.
I got it, but it's hilarious.
Yeah. But he's awesome. And I would like to see him actually be a supporting character in that book because he's pretty dope too. And he's like a pacifist, which is really cool to see in like a Superman character because it's like you got to hit something. He's like, no, I'm not. So that Earth 2 book is actually pretty good. It's kind of under the radar, but it's pretty good. And some of the characters are pretty cool. So I think she'd be a good character to keep and just keep it focused over there. And then you could utilize some of those characters that have been in the background because basically that book is a Superwoman book anyway. So. Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm going to go with my next pick because you just took, just in fear of you using somebody again. My book is Earth 2, and I'm just going to make this a JSA book, and
yes,
it's just JSA, and it's classic JSA, and I mean it's got like freaking Wildcat, and it's got like I don't know Our Man, and he's got the whole like Hour of Power thing and everything going on, so it's full out JSA, and the writer would be Mark Waid. Because Mark Waid just writes the classic characters so well, and he just understands those so well. So I'm going to go with Mark Waid, and then the artist would be the guy who's drawing Jupiter's Circle, the Mark Miller book. As you know, big fan of Mark Miller. Mm-hmm. But the artist for that book, it's like a 50s style superhero book. So the artist would be Wilfredo Torres, who is just a great fit for that style of like superhero. So. Yes, JSA Classic has returned, and it's Mark Waid and Wilfredo Torres doing it.
I would buy that. Yay, JSA.
Yay, JSA.
Let's see.
I really think that's what they're going to do with the Earth 2 book, too.
I think so, too. Which I think is awesome, because I missed that, but it'll also be a shame if they just kind of shit can all the current Earth 2 characters, because they've actually done a really good job of, like, developing those characters.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess it could be, like, the same thing, except for it's just... they're more like organized as like a full team. I don't know the current status of Earth 2. I've not been reading it, which is why I just made it what I want it to be.
Yeah, no, it's all over the place right now. It's still good, but it's kind of like a feudal system. Like they have all divided up the world that, I don't know, whatever convergence took place on it. It's kind of a mess, but it's still good. It's hard to explain though. Yeah. So next book. So let's do. I don't think you're gonna steal anybody left on my list. So we're just gonna move forward. So I'm gonna do Batman Beyond.
Okay.
I would get rid of the whole idea of Tim Drake being the Batman Beyond character, though, and I would go back to it just being old school Batman Beyond. My creative team is lifted straight off of one of my favorite books. I would take Tom Waltz and Mateus Santaloco and put them on that book. They're from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Nice.
Tom Waltz being the writer, Mateus Santaloco being the every once in a while artist. He's on a break right now, but he's definitely the most significant artist that book has. I just would like to see Santaloco get to go nuts on that, and Tom Waltz has done such a good job of world building there. I would love to see him actually world build the Batman Beyond universe instead of it being some kind of weird convergence, or not convergence, but
Futures Indie thing.
So yeah, that's pretty much all I have for that.
So with the Batman Beyond, would that be? I guess it'd be taking place in whatever the future is that Batman Beyond's taking place in.
Yeah, I would make it like its own Earth, basically, because I think there's a Beyond Earth, that multiversity thing they did. So I would just have it focused over there and have it be more focused on like classic Beyond stuff. But I would also not have it necessarily be beholden to everything. I would almost start it fresh and just let him run wild.
Yeah,
Tom. So that
sounds awesome. Okay, so my next book will be my first pick that I made, which is The Flash. And I have bad news.
Uh-oh.
Barry Allen, bye-bye.
Oh, that's not bad news.
Wally West, welcome back. And I'm talking about classic Wally West. I don't read the current one, and so apologies if he's totally awesome. But my Wally West is the redhead who's running around and who's just like totally like I don't know, like a normal dude who just happens to have super speed, and he's just kind of a cool guy who's just like having fun with all of it. And the writer would be Joe Kelly.
Nice.
Because I feel like, I mean, Wally West, I'm not saying that he was Spider-Man, but he kind of always had like the more casual, fun feel to me. Like he was a family man. He was a more personal driven character rather than like just a straight hero. And so I feel like Joe Kelly would be great at balancing those two sides. And the artist would be Javier Rodriguez, who is currently the artist for Spider-Woman and also did some Daredevil stuff before. And that dude is amazing. Like, he is so good. And I just think that those two would do a great job with like, I don't know, making a fun, like, Flash family style story. Like Jay Garrick would be there, and like he'd be like the Wilson of the book from like Home Improvement. Like he would just come over and hang out by the fence and talk to Wally West. I'm not saying that would actually happen, but you know, he'd be like the mentor figure and like maybe working some Bart Allen in there and stuff like that. And it would be just, I'm not saying it has to be exactly like the old Mark Waid run, but it just much more of like the fun feel and like the I don't know. I feel like the Flash TV show for the most part kind of gets the feel of the character right. And I feel like it'd be much more like that, except for it would be with old school Wally West.
Yeah, I think that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I'd be all about that. Bring back the Gingers, goddammit.
We really need to run the DC universe. I think that's the takeaway so far, given the fact that we have not overlapped basically at all, and our books are awesome.
We need to get an agent who can pitch us to DC, because we've got to do better than Didio and them are doing right now.
I have these two guys. They've never worked on a comic before, but they have ideas.
Yes. Hey, we worked for an Eisner-nominated website.
That's true. That's true.
Legit as fuck.
Totally legit. All right, what's your next pick, Eisner boy?
All right. While we stay legit as hell, we're going to do Justice League.
All right.
This book will be a book that'll be near and dear to my heart because it will basically be the new iteration of Justice League International. It will star the more odds and ends style characters of the Justice League to be kind of a bookend to the Justice League America, which is going to be the A-listers. So this book would have, Fire and Ice, Vibe. It would have, Guy Gardner. It would have Booster Gold. It would have old school Blue Beetle. It would be that kind of stuff. very much the haha stuff. And as a result, I would have to keep Kevin Maguire as artist for something like that because he just is that era to me. And writer, just because you scared me here, I'm going to have to go ahead and use him, Joe Kelly. And just let him run wild and bring kind of what he brought to Deadpool to Justice League International without it being quite as crazy, filthy. Well, now fuck it, go for it. And let Kevin Maguire draw the chuckles. I think that'd be a fun book.
That would be an awesome book. I think it's funny that the overlaps we've had so far have been Joe Kelly and Mark Waid, two people who
and Tom King.
Well, and Tom King, yeah, but like those two haven't worked on DC in like forever,
right? And
I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I just think it's kind of funny that like we were like, I totally expected to overlap on a lot of other places, but those were not going to be the places.
I thought artists we were going to overlap and it was going to become a shit show.
Yeah, but I think we have slightly different tastes in art, and like I was trying to go really off the beaten path with that. Speaking of which, I'm going to go with my next pick, which is Batgirl and the Birds of Prey. And I used to be, I was a big Birds of Prey fan for a long time. Like, I actually really liked a lot of Birds of Prey stuff. And I just kind of want to go back to them being kind of like cool friends and stuff like that who also happen to fight crime, and they also have like an expanded list of like, it's not just like Huntress, and it's not just Black Canary, and it's not just Batgirl. It's also got like the Black Alice and like some of those other random characters that are in there in the mix and everything. And so the artist for that would be the artist of Silk at Marvel, Stacey Lee, because I think she is an amazing artist and I think she'd be a great fit for it. And also like this, because it's like, I don't know. I always kind of looked at the Birds of Prey as not as serious. Like, they'd be serious, but they wouldn't be like Batman serious or something like that. So I think she's a great fit for the more like, I don't know, enjoyable vibe. And then the writer for it would be Mariko Tamaki, who wrote or co-wrote, I believe, this book, this one summer, where she's a great writer. She's actually writing, God, what is she writing now? She's writing like Red Sonja or something. I don't remember. Anyways, but she's a great writer, and I think she really understands kind of like the more youthful mentality, and I think she would be a great fit for the book. And it's a little bit off the beaten path, but I kind of want to go different because I feel like that's a book that a lot of people approach from the same, like they're always trying to do Gail Simone, and like unless you get Gail Simone, I don't think you should really be doing that. Anyway, so I think she'd be a great fit.
Yeah, I like it. I'd buy it.
All right, what's next for you?
Let's see here. Let's do Cyborg.
All right.
So style-wise, I wanted an artist who has like the ability to do like big wild things, but also able to do like machines and robots and things like that. Pretty cool. So I actually took Kenneth Rocafort.
Ooh, I know you like him.
Yeah, and I paired him with a writer he's currently working with, Al Ewing. Al Ewing's been doing awesome stuff over at Marvel, and I would like to see him just take a crack at Cyborg with Rocafort and just go wild, because like what he's doing with Ultimates right now is pretty cool. It's really grandiose, and then I would just like to see that kind of concept brought to Cyborg. I mean, if you were to do the Rebirth thing and keep at least the part that he had like a mother box blow him up, you could have him have like wilder adventures through the universe, the multiverse, and yeah, that would be my team on that one.
That is, I like it. People really like that book. I've not read it.
It's cool. Like, yeah, the stuff they're doing with the Galactus right now is just like, wow, all right, cool. I'll see where this goes.
Oh, so by the way, Mariko Tamaki is actually writing Tomb Raider, but she also wrote a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles mini. She did Casey and April.
Oh, nice. That was actually my least favorite of the group, but it wasn't bad.
Okay. Well, there you go. Anyways, so my next pick is going to be, God, I can't even decide which. Oh, I'm going to do Titans. So for me, Titans, this will be because it's not Teen Titans, it's like the slightly adult Titans. I have Nightwing, Starfire, Cyborg, Beast Boy, and Raven as the team. And for the artist, I'm going to go with one of my favorites, a guy who has done a lot of Marvel stuff, but hasn't done DC stuff in a while. Or, God, I don't remember if he's done any. I think he has. Javier Pulido. And he did She-Hulk, and he's done a bunch of other stuff, and he's one of my favorite artists, and I feel like he's got a great feel for kind of like the classic heroics and everything like that. Actually, he did Robin Year One, and he did Human Target, so there you go. Nice. Anyways, and then the writer for it would be Faith Erin Hicks, who wrote and illustrated a bunch of different stuff. She did one of my favorite books in the past few years. Nothing Could Possibly Go Wrong. Actually, she didn't write that. Actually, she was just an artist, but she also did The Adventures of a Superhero Girl, and she did Friends with Boys, and she's got a new book coming out called The Nameless City, and I'm really excited for that. And I just think she's a great creator, and she really understands kind of like the young adult mentality, while also like I feel like I've read a lot of Titan stories, and I'd like to see some more outside the box type stuff. And I feel like she'd bring a great mentality to it. So she is my pick.
I think she's a good pick. I never thought of her, but she's actually a really good pick for that. She's yeah.
Okay. No, go ahead.
I'm trying to decide what I want to do next, because I've got one where literally I have 2 writers for the book because it's coming down the wire. I still don't know who I want to write this book.
All right. I have that with an artist.
But we'll save that one because I'm pretty sure you're not going to take either of those writers. Let's go with Harley Quinn.
Okay.
So on art, I'm going to put Amanda Conner because I think she's just kind of perfect for that. It's kind of a DC staple at this point and has done a lot with the character, so might as well keep her in the loop. But for writer, I actually wanted to keep with kind of the Harley Quinn being like a Deadpool type character for DC and start moving the Harley Quinn character more in the filthy range of the Deadpool movie. And I thought, who better to put the words into that mouth than Ryan Ferrier from Dave?
Ooh, nice.
Just making it over the top, filthy, ridiculous with Amanda Conner on Harley Quinn, I think would be a lot of fun.
I like that. That's super outside the box, but I'm totally into it. All right, my next pick is going to be Green Arrow because I just decided who my artist is going to be.
Nice.
And I was going back and forth. I was kind of thinking. I was just like, I had a few choices. I didn't know who. So for this book, I want to go. My favorite Green Arrow stories are actually typically the ones where it kind of mixes in healthy dose of Oliver Queen, but I don't want to do stupid Q-pad shit. Because I hated that.
It was terrible.
It was so bad. So I'm not saying like we have to get deep into like the technology and everything like that, but more like I really like that time when he was both running for mayor and he was also like trying to save the city after it was like destroyed by
year one stuff.
Yeah, no,
1 year later or whatever.
Yeah, 1 year later, exactly. Like when after his city got basically destroyed during Infinite Crisis and everything. Like I thought that stuff was great. Anyways, so I want to embrace like the business side, but also the action side. So the writer for it would be Mark Russell, the guy who did Prez.
Nice.
And the artist for it would be the guy. I don't know if you ever read it, but did you read High Crimes?
I think I read an issue. I think you lent them to me.
No, it was a Monkey Brain book, so it was digital. And then they.
Oh yeah, I read some of that. That's anyway, the mountain climbing one, right?
Yeah, the mountain climbing one. Yeah. So the artist for that is Ibrahim Mustafa, and he's done a little DC work. I think he just did some Dr. Fate stuff. Yeah, and I like his style. Like I feel like he's got a good grasp of both like the superheroics, but also like the I don't know, the day-to-day life stuff. And I feel like he'd bring a really interesting perspective to a superhero book that, I don't know, I feel like it's either normally really, really dark or just like really generic like superhero stuff. So I feel like I want somebody who has a real voice. So Ibrahim Mustafa, that's my pick.
He is an awesome artist. He almost got me to buy that Dr. Fate book.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, I just don't really care about Dr. Fate, to be honest. Unless he's part of JSA.
Yeah, I like Dr. Fate, and I like that dude's art, but I was just like, I don't know. I just DC at that point to me felt like that book could get cut at any moment. So I was like, I'm not putting any money behind it. I just can't.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. Like, there's like the weird mentality. Do you ever not watch TV shows because you feel like they're going to get canceled?
Yeah, because I had this whole string of time where like I had all these shows I really loved, and they all got canceled, and I'm like, I'm done with that. Yeah. So it's kind of like that with comics sometimes. You try not to do that, but at the same time, it's like it's a totally understandable mentality. It's actually the TV show thing. Amber watches Grimm, which I never watched, but I joined in once we actually got together. And I the reason why I never watched that show is because I thought it was going to get canceled for sure. I'm like, it's like this random show about like monsters and like on NBC starring a bunch of people I'd never heard of. I'm like, what is this thing? And then I started watching it, and it's like in season 6 or whatever, and it's actually very enjoyable. Yeah, my in-laws love that show.
All right, what's your next pick?
Okay. Man, I'll go with Teen Titans. That's the one where I still hadn't decided on the writer. So the artist for that book will be Nick Bradshaw.
Oh,
I think he does a good job on he did a good job with like Wolverine X-Men. He's doing a good job over on that Spidey book. Like I think his art's really taken a step up on that book. It's awesome. This last issue was like Spidey fighting the Lizard, and it was like a whole series of like double page spreads that were just phenomenal of them like just duking it out. So Nick Bradshaw, the writer. So I will go ahead and I'll go with my initial choice, which was Dennis Hopeless.
Mm-hmm.
Move him over from doing, kind of what he's done at Marvel recently with a lot of the teen characters. Obviously he's doing all new X-Men right now, and he's doing a pretty good job of that. He also did
Avengers Arena.
Avengers Arena, yep. And that was really good. So I'll go with him. I think those two in a combo could work really well with the Teen Titans cast that for me would be closer to like a Young Justice book. Because I figure if you've got a Titans book, you're probably using all like the classic Teen Titans characters for the most part, like the grown-up versions. So I would use more of the Young Justice Teen Titans. So the Wonder Girl character we're used to, Impulse, you'd have Superboy, guys like that. And then you'd bring in like Blue Beetle, and some of the newer ones, Batgirl from Burnside, stuff like that. So that would be mine. My alternate writing team was Kyle and Yost.
Oh, I can't believe you didn't go with them.
I just back and forth.
Two on the nose.
Yeah, that's what I was. But so is Dennis Hopeless anymore, honestly. So I don't know.
Unless you have him just kill all the Teen Titans, in which case people will definitely do a petition because they're very upset.
Oh, didn't I mention Superboy Prime's in the book and just going to be pulling people? I forgot that.
I was waiting for one of us to bring up Superboy Prime. I've been waiting for that.
Yeah.
Actually, I just realized they don't have a Superboy book in there, do they?
No.
How do they have 7 Super books but no Superboy?
That's why I was like, is he part of Super Sons?
I don't know. Maybe it's.
I don't know.
Maybe it's just Tim Drake and Superboy. Actually, I would probably buy that.
I would buy the shit out of that.
All right. Well, shit. Anyways, that would be interesting.
Add it to the list.
Anyways, all right. So my next book is I'm gonna go with Superman. So I had a really hard time with the writer on this because like I wanted to go with somebody like I didn't want to go with just the usual people, but I also want to go with somebody that would have a good grasp on like the history of the character and like the wholesome nature while also being able to bring some edge to it. So the writer for it I chose was Josh Williamson, who I think has done some really great stuff. Like I really like Birthright. That's a good book. And he also he's been reading comics for a long time. He's been a comics guy for a long time. And I feel like he's got a great mentality for like what works and what doesn't. And so I feel like he would bring the right vibe to Superman. So I'm totally into that. And then the artist, I would steal him from Thor because this dude is a goddamn beast, Russell Dauterman. And I feel like that guy is one of the best artists in comics. And I'm just waiting for him to get like one of the biggest books in the industry and everyone to like poop themselves over it because he's amazing. Like he brings such amazing energy to books, but he's also a great storyteller and I love him and he'd be amazing. So that'd be my Superman book.
Very nice.
Really quick. Did you hear about the, so Marvel's bringing back that Treasury edition format that they used to use in the 70s?
Oh, Timely?
No, Treasury. Like this was like the oversized, like it's, I don't know, like kind of more like a Where's Waldo style size book.
Okay.
And so they're gonna do a Treasury edition of Spidey, like the first volume of it. So it's like the first 5 issues are coming out in this supersized version that's like floppy pages and like perfect for kids. And it's $15.99, which is actually cheaper than their normal trades.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah, and actually I really love that Timely thing too. I think that's totally awesome.
Yeah, that's cool they're using it.
Yeah. Anyways, what is your last book?
My last book, very fittingly, is The Superman.
Oh, God. I forgot about this book. I'm very curious as to what you're going to do with this.
I left this one for last because this is going to be my more oddball. But bringing up Superboy Prime, while it's not quite Superboy Prime, the way I'm approaching this book is it's more like the Prime Earth where there aren't a bunch of heroes and supervillains and things.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
And so you have this guy who does get powers, and it's more of like Clark Kent from Smallville without the teen drama, but like more of him figuring these powers out. He lives in like a New York City type thing, so it's more real world based, but New York and Metropolis are, obviously interchangeable. So like trying to learn to use these powers in like a big metropolitan city, and a more of a street level feel to it. So less of the tights, there's no capes, there's none of that. It's this guy figuring out his powers, which are all the traditional Superman powers, except for flight. He's still developing that. Mm-hmm. He can jump. He can do the leaping. He's more the basic old school Superman.
You can leap over tall buildings.
Right. No flying, but he can leap like a motherfucker. He's like a giant flea. My writer on the book is Greg Rucka, because I wanted a real street level vibe. And my artist, I went way off the beaten path as far as superhero books, because I didn't want it to feel like a superhero book, and I wanted it to kind of have like a totally different visual appeal to it. So I went with Simon Gain. I think that combo would be a lot of fun on a book about a guy who's just developing these Superman powers in a real world situation.
Mm-hmm.
They're not like us. Sorry, that Simon Gain's artist from They're Not Like Us.
Yeah, this is a total Ramadan situation, but I kind of feel like it's Simone Gagne.
It very may. I have no clue. It very well may be.
I may have just made him French. I don't know. Like, he may not actually be remotely European, and I'm just like, Simone Gagne, and he's like, sorry, it's Simon Gain. I'm just like,
Yeah. You son of a bitch.
Okay, comic creators, stop having tricky names. We're terrible at pronouncing things.
Seriously, you're not making this easy for
We
us.
probably got one of the two right. Either that or it's like Simon Gagne or it's Simone Gain.
Right.
It's like a hybrid of both of ours. All right, so my last pick is Supergirl. That's the last book I have to do. And first off, have you read Mike Myhack's Batgirl Supergirl webcomic series?
No.
Okay, you should show that to Eva, because she would love that. I mean, I have like a print version of her of their comic, and it's like, it's so great. It's like so perfect, and he really understands like the characters and like the goodness in those characters. And anyways, so I would totally like I would recommend you read those to her, show those to her, because it's like this beautiful cartoony style. I was thinking about getting him to write and draw the book, but I'm going to get him to just write it, because he has such a perfect mentality for like the character and
nice.
the
I'm
good.
looking it up right now.
Anyways, and the artist for it I would have, because the TV show is much more like, I don't know, like not adult, but like it's got the vibe, but at the same time it's definitely much more for like a mass audience. I would go with Joelle Jones, because I think she is a fantastic artist, and I think she just does great work, and I have been waiting for her to be on a much bigger book, and I think she'd be a great fit for it. So Mike Myhack's like great heartful sensibilities mixed with Joelle Jones' art would be beautiful.
Yeah, it'd be a fun book.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. So what do you think of our universe?
It's probably going to be better than whatever they give us, just like our Marvel universe was better.
Oh God, that's so sad.
Yeah, like, come on, guys.
It's not that hard. Just
no.
Pay all these people the big bucks and make it happen.
And that's what kills me. It's not like they'd be like, we really don't have any money. Like, you're backed by Disney and Warner Brothers. Get out of here with that.
Well, and the thing that I like, a lot of our people that we picked, like, I feel like they wouldn't be crazy. I mean, I guess I don't know the business, but they wouldn't be like, it's not like we just picked Jim Lee 32 times.
Right.
Like we're picking some people who are like up and comers. There's some big names, but there's like some up and comers in there. And like, I feel like they could, really go outside the box and actually find some people that could do exciting new things while still embracing like your universe and your legacy and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you. This is not like a break the bank group of people we put together here.
Yeah, that's true. Although
some
of it, I mean, your Aquaman book would definitely break the bank.
Yeah, but they're going to put them on something anyway at some point.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that too. Although, I mean, I don't know. Quietly doesn't do things anymore. Like, what was the last thing he did?
I feel like if Morrison was like, bro,
we're going to do Aquaman.
We're doing something crazy, he'd be like, all right, I'll get paid a lot of money.
Yeah. But I feel like you can go outside the box. That's what I kind of hope to do, because I feel like there's a lot of, I don't know, we don't know anything about these books right now, but I feel like there's a lot of potential in them. And I feel like if they actually look at them as like, I don't know, don't just put the same people on every book just because you can. Like, actually try to be different.
Yeah, don't just shuffle the chairs on the deck of the Titanic. Like,
exactly. like, don't get me wrong. Like, there was a time and a place where I was very fond of some of the people that have been working for them for a long time. But like, you can go in other directions.
And I think that's where they failed the New 52 is they brought back too much of like the classic feel and didn't bring in like new blood and really change things.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like a half measure, wasn't it? Because it was like New 52, they're going for this completely new relaunch, and they're going for like everything is starting over, and then they just bring back the same people that they've always had working on the books.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that's kind of a bummer, but I don't know, like, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, but maybe what we should do is we should talk after they come out with the real creative teams.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I'd be in for that. They're supposed to do it at the end of March, right?
March 26th. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to save our list, and we can compare it to the wildly different teams that they're eventually going to use.
Nice. I'll save mine as well on this end.
Oh, I actually typed out all of our teams.
Did you really?
Yeah,
nice.
I did. Well, I wanted to make sure that wasn't doubling up, and it turns out we didn't double up at all.
I just started a little list at the bottom that said can't use anymore. So Tom King, Mark Wade, Joe Kelly.
I was even writing down your ideas.
Nice.
Well, I'm just gonna actually send an email to Dan Didio being like, hey, just consider this. Maybe this is a pretty good idea. I feel like we got a good foundation here.
Yeah. If this doesn't work out, we'll rebirth you again.
All right, man. Thank you for coming on. Thanks for talking Rebirth with me, and we'll see how incredibly incorrect we are March 26th.
You mean how incredibly correct we were, but they didn't follow through on the plan.
Exactly. That's what I meant to say. That is much more accurate. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Off Panel from Sketch.com. You can find this week's guest, Brandon Burpee, on Twitter at Brandon Burpee. You can find more Sketch content at Sketched. That's SKTCHD.com. Follow us on Twitter at SketchComic. Like us on Facebook at /Sketched. And if you're listening on iTunes, give us a rating or review. Thanks for listening, and tune in next week for another episode.